kick through fairly quickly. So the Storms Prediction Center should extend that tornado watch across the whole area very soon. Right now, pretty much for Jeff Davis Parish points west until 6 o'clock. But you can see here this line, a nasty line of storms, and the warning's kind of cut off right here as the instability is trying to work north, and we have the better instability in this area here. But several tornado warnings, and we'll probably have several more. So stay weather aware. We'll be on all evening giving out information, and if you can't watch us online, if you lose power, definitely make sure that your phone will get alerts. You can download our weather app. It will send out a lot of alerts. It may drive you crazy, but that's a good thing when we have severe weather. So several tornado warnings, one big severe thunderstorm warning, and that's the case right now as we have this line moving to the east. Now this was in Houston at about 3 o'clock, so you can see it is advancing to the east fairly quickly. So I think it's going to be in Jennings here in the next 30 to 45 minutes, Lafayette maybe by 7:30, down into Jeanneret, New Iberia probably by 8 to 8:30, and then down to Morgan City, Franklin, those areas, I think down there probably about 9 to 9:30, then completely out of here by about 10 o'clock. So several flash flood warnings. That's the green box there. We could get those across Acadiana as well. The main thing here is we're seeing these storms develop in front of this main line, and so that's aggravating the heavy rain. It's making it a little more widen this line a little bit, but that may weaken some of the storms back to the west, so that could be a good thing. So Trevor's zooming in here. Let's put the velocity on there and see if we can see. Yeah.
Wording from the National Weather Service. A tornado warning remains in effect till 5:45 for southeastern Beauregard and southwestern Allen. This is the one right here that we've been zooming in on. And we were saying we weren't seeing much on velocities, but at 5:16 p.m. they confirmed a large and extremely dangerous tornado was located over Ragley, moving northeast at 60. So that's right where we're zooming in. That's right in here. Right along 190, that intersection we were just talking about, a large tornado is in that area. Moving off to the northeast at 60 miles per hour, Heath. Wow. That's very strong wording from the National Weather Service. That's also a very fast moving and potentially dangerous tornado.
Let's go back and put velocity, see if we can see what it looks like with the velocity. And yeah, you can see here, right here, that is along 90. We see the rotation there. And you do have the tornado warning box there, so you can see the green here, the red here. It's a very strong wind. So according to the Weather Service, a strong tornado on the ground with this storm, and this is moving into Allen Parish right now. As a matter of fact, is this live, or did you rewind it a little bit or go back?
No, this is live right now. They're saying it's going to be near Dry Creek at 5:30 p.m.
Okay, Dry Creek. I was there.
That's right in here.
Back in November at a pumpkin patch right here, Dry Creek. So I know exactly where that is. But you can see not a lot of rotation that's showing up here on radar, but regardless, it's going to be in this area right here. Coming out of Beauregard Parish into Allen Parish, and it's one of those situations in which the rotation is not showing up on radar, but we're seeing tornadoes, and that's the case. That was the case earlier over eastern parts of Texas, but that storm is moving into this area here that has the possible large tornado. You can kind of see a little bit of a hook there as it makes its way into Allen Parish and north of Kinder. So that's the tornado warning. That's the one that has the tornado on the ground according to the Weather Service. No confirmation that this one has a tornado on the ground, but that one is moving probably into the Iowa area now, moving just out of Lake Charles. And that one's going to be moving into Jeff Davis Parish. So we'll see if they issue a tornado warning for Jeff Davis Parish shortly. But right now, that warning is for Calcasieu Parish. So that's not good that we have a tornado on the ground with this storm, considering that it's pretty far north, you know, away from a lot of the instability. Of course, that may be right along the warm front, but regardless, right here, a possible tornado on the ground as it makes its way into western parts of Allen Parish. So we see the line advancing to the east, still a big severe thunderstorm warning. They'll probably extend this further east here soon into Jeff Davis Parish and Acadia Parish. But several tornado warnings, actually two, one Calcasieu and one now which is moving into western parts of Allen Parish, and that storm there is the one that the Weather Service is talking about, a large tornado on the ground. That's going to make its way. Let's put a storm track on that, Trevor. Let's track that to the northeast at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. Looks like it's going to be in line with Oakdale. It's going to cross 165 here pretty soon as well. But looks like this is the Lake Charles storm, and we're looking Welsh at about 548, Eunice at 622, Ville Platte at 637. That's the one for Calcasieu Parish. Now let's do a storm track on that one right there, that one of the Weather Service is talking about a tornado on the ground. You can see these reports coming out of the Lake Charles Weather Service, those tornado icons. And that one is moving toward 165 and up toward Oakdale. So it's going to cross, actually looks like it's about to cross 165 very shortly. So here's the storm track with this one that we can see. Oakdale 554. If you're watching us in Oakdale, you want to be in a safe place. Pine Prairie at 609. Marksville at 634. So still quite a ways away from Marksville. But Simmons Settlement there is 538. And Oakdale at about 554. Pearl at about, it looks like 558. So here's Oakdale. This storm is definitely moving toward Oakdale off to the east-northeast at about 40 to 50 miles per hour. And this is not the type of setup where you want to go out and try to see the tornado. More than likely, these tornadoes are going to be rain wrapped. You're not going to be able to see these. They're going to be pretty much in this line. So it's best to go to the center part of your home, away from windows and doors, and put as many walls between you and the outside, specifically in a room that has no windows, maybe an interior closet. At our Sky 10 traffic cam, there's New Iberia, those winds out of the south-southeast at 28. It looks gloomy out there. Temperatures are coming up, so that means the warmer air is coming in. That means the instability is definitely going up across Acadiana. So back to radar. One thing I'm seeing here is this line out in advance of the main line may be taking over. So it could weaken this line that was the strongest back to the west, and this one may take over, and we may see storms, tornadoes develop along this leading edge here. So we'll see if that happens, but right now we're not seeing that. We did have that one warning earlier over Cameron Parish, but right now no warning for Cameron Parish, at least no tornado warning. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning. Right now no severe thunderstorm warning for Acadia, but we do see the western parts of Jeff Davis, Welch West, a severe thunderstorm warning. So do you see anything, Trevor? I want to go and look at that data real quick.
Yeah, I think you were right on point when you said that it looks like this main line is taking over and it's robbing the energy from the back line. So the back line may weaken, but it doesn't matter which line takes over here. Either way, it looks like some very strong storms and convectively active as well. That's one thing we're looking at because the wind shear is there. We've been talking about this for a few days now. The wind shear will be there, but the question is instability. You need both of them for severe weather. The wind shear is needed, but you also need storms to rise. You need them to be what's called convectively active. So what does that mean? It means that the air is turbulent inside the storm, and that's when you get lightning. So the lightning is a very good indicator of where the strongest part of the storm is, where the most air is moving within the storm. And let's zoom in real time here and see exactly where that lightning is. It's in that new line. The old line, you really don't see much lightning there. That it's weakening. That means it's losing its severity, it's losing its instability. All the lightning is with the main line here across Cameron. So I would argue that the strongest part of this storm is actually across northeastern portions of Cameron Parish, just to the southwest of Lake Arthur, Jennings, and moving off to the north. Another very strong portion of the storm is just to the southeast of Oakdale, right where those warnings are. Now, one thing I am noticing, it looks like everything is sort of congealing together, and that's very important in terms of the severe weather risk, because also needed for severe weather, you need supercells. You need individual cells that can really tap into those atmospheric ingredients and gain rotation and or produce a tornado. But as it stands now, everything is sort of congealing together down here. A lot of moisture. This happens all the time around here. This would be good news if this were to happen. Not to say we wouldn't still see these warnings ongoing, but if we can get all the storms to come together, it turns into a big mess, a heavy rainfall event. Of course, we don't want the heavy rainfall, but we would rather the heavy rainfall than the multiple tornadoes, even stronger tornadoes, which is certainly possible in this type of wind shear environment. I was looking at this, the data on this, even for the weekend, very high wind shear, some of the most impressive numbers I've seen in quite some time. If we had the instability, we would be looking at a much bigger problem. We actually had a high risk back in 2015 across central parts of the state. And the wind shear with this one is actually higher, but with that one we had the instability. This one we do not. So that may save us from seeing a more widespread severe weather event, but it has already produced receiving reports of tornadoes near the Houston Metroplex earlier this afternoon. So it has already produced, and the National Weather Service is already using some very dangerous wording with some of these tornado warnings, especially with this one outstanding warning that's still across Allen, just to the west of Oberlin and clipping Beauregard Parish there. No warnings down to the southwest for now, but still that broad severe thunderstorm warning covering that main line, Heath.
Yeah, that's the way it looks. We're watching this line here and see how it interacts, but looks like it may be taking over, and this one could be weakening, which is good news. They have not issued a tornado warning for Jeff Davis Parish quite yet. The only warning I'm seeing, a lot of red on here, this one here where the tornado is on the ground confirmed near Ragley. And you can see some stronger winds here, but not seeing any distinct rotation. Right here, maybe some rotation with that storm. No warning with that. But there's the possible tornado. Here's Dry Creek. Here's 113. Looks like it has just crossed 113. And we're showing the winds here, 68 mile per hour winds. Now keep in mind, the radar beam is going up, so it's hitting winds 4,000 or 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere, and those winds are pretty strong just above the ground, so it's hitting some of that. Doesn't mean these winds are actually on the ground, but regardless, there could be some very strong winds with that, the possibility of a tornado. Allen, Beauregard Parish, that warning goes until 5:45, which is another about 13 minutes. So we'll see if they extend that. But right now, we do have that warning, and the Weather Service did confirm a tornado on the ground near Ragley, and that was just to the west. So the only tornado warning we still have the severe thunderstorm warning that blankets, it looks like, most of the area. Allen Parish, this goes down into Jeff Davis Parish and Cameron Parish. In the green box you see here, that's a flash flood warning for those storms that are rolling across. So right now, this tornado warning continues. This is the Allen Parish line, and you can see that storm is moving into Allen Parish. So more than likely, it's moving out of Beauregard Parish right now. Here's 26. It's going to be crossing 26 very shortly, and 165 as well. It's going to be crossing 165 up near Oakdale. So if you live in Oakdale, you want to be in a safe place, because this storm has had a history of producing a tornado on the ground. That's coming from the National Weather Service. They said a large, dangerous tornado on the ground. And as we look here, we'll go back to the reflectivity.
We actually have a new warning, Heath. I just noticed this. There's a tornado warning. And we actually have the camera, our Sky 10 camera network is always working, always on. And let's pull this up. We actually have a camera that's live in Jennings right now, right where that warning is being issued. That's a new warning, in fact, a tornado warning. Let's get the latest on this. This is in effect until 6 o'clock p.m. I'll go ahead and read this from the National Weather Service. Tornado warning for northeastern Cameron Parish and southwestern Louisiana, southeastern Jeff Davis, southwestern Louisiana, and also for Acadia and northwestern Vermilion. So this is covering 4 parishes now. At 5:34 p.m., a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located over Lowry or near Lake Arthur, moving northeast at 45 miles per hour. So this is yet another instance where we're seeing these storms moving 45, 50, 60 miles per hour. So even if we were to see a tornado with this, it would be quick moving. It would most likely be rain wrapped. So both of those are bad news in terms of strong tornadoes, but it will be near Lake Arthur around 5:45 p.m. So in about 9 minutes, Jennings, Mermentau, and Morse around 5:55, and Evangeline and Egan, Heath, around 6 o'clock p.m. And we do have that camera going on in Jennings right now. But again, you see the wind is strong, but you really don't see much. There's some lightning there. Right. I think this tornado will be rain wrapped, or we're going to try to see if we can see what's going on there. But unfortunately, it may be hard to see with the way this storm has evolved.
Yeah, you know, we'll see it as it gets closer, but right now it looks like a lot of heavy rain down there in the wind. Of course, we have Jennings here, the possible tornadoes down here. So as it gets closer, we'll take another look at that. But what's happening is these storms that have developed in front of the main line are starting to take over, and we're starting to see the rotation here. And this means this severe weather risk may move through even sooner, simply because we're seeing stuff develop in advance. So there's the possible tornado. The rotation looks a little more distinct than what we've seen with some of the other storms, and you can see it right there. Yeah, starting to tighten up a little bit. This is Cameron Parish, It looks like we have Vermilion Parish here, so it's moving into extreme southern parts of Jeff Davis Parish, but it's going to be in Acadia Parish fairly shortly. If you live in Lake Arthur, you definitely want to be in a safe place. We're going to put a storm track on this and move it to the northeast. Lake Arthur, then up toward Crowley. The possible track of this storm, Lake Arthur at 544, Estherwood at 603, Crowley at 612 for this tornado, and this goes possible tornado, and this warning goes until 6 o'clock. So Lake Arthur in line, that's the first town that we're watching very closely. It's not a real tight rotation, but it's enough to produce a tornado warning. And anytime you see something like this on a day like today in which you have a lot of wind shear, it's probably a good bet to go ahead and just put a tornado warning on that. Just move through Lowry. Winds here, we're looking at winds, the 44, see the minus 44, those are winds moving toward the radar, and these winds here, the reds, are moving away from the radar, so you have the winds moving in opposite directions in a short area, so you do have a possible tornado there. From what I've seen, this is a radar confirmed. It's not tornado or it's not ground truth. It means no one has seen it, but it is radar indicated. So that's what we're looking at with this one, as a radar indicated. We haven't had reports of one actually on the ground. But Acadia, Cameron, Jeff Davis, Vermilion, and that goes until 6 o'clock. So this storm, if it holds together, is going to move up toward, it looks like 90 and I-10. And we'll have to watch this whole line. Notice the storms that go offshore here. These are going to move inland into Vermilion Parish over the next hour or so, and eventually off to the east into Iberia Parish and St. Martin Parish and Lafayette Parish. If this storm holds together, it's going to make its way up probably into southern St. Landry Parish as well. But we do have a tornado warning. You see the red box there. The only other tornado warning is that one in Allen Parish, and that's the one earlier that we had reports of a tornado on the ground. So right now that storm is north of Reeves and moving along LA 26 here. That one's moving toward Oakdale. So if you live in Oakdale, you definitely want to be in a safe place, away from windows and doors, the interior room, and the lowest level possible. If this is moving toward your location, you definitely don't want to go out and look for it, because you're probably not going to see anything but dark clouds. It's dark outside now, heavy rain and wind. These storms, these tornadoes are more than likely going to be rain wrapped. Look at these winds. It doesn't mean these winds are actually on the ground, 84 miles per hour, but as we go up in the atmosphere, 4,000 or 5,000 feet, what we call the low-level jet, that wind's blowing at about 60 miles per hour. So some of this could be aloft, but what happens, these thunderstorms can push those higher winds down to the ground, and that can definitely happen, and that may be the case up there over Allen Parish. The tornado warning closest to looks like Crowley and Jennings is this one here. You can see here moving to the northeast. We're going to take a look at that traffic cam again once it gets a little bit closer and see if we see anything. More than likely, though, it's going to be dark. It's 5:40 now, so more than likely we're not going to see anything, but sometimes the lightning can illuminate a tornado if it's on the ground.
I think it may move south of where our camera is actually located in Jennings.
So Jennings is here. It looks like it's going to move south of there. The problem is, when you're looking for a tornado like this, you're going to be looking through all this rain, so you're not going to see it. You'd have to have the camera down here, down to the south, and looking to the north where you could visually look at it. That's why when people storm chase, the rule is you stay south of the storm so you can visually see the tornado, because the tornado is going to be on the southwestern flank of that storm. So that's what you look for, is the possible tornado off to the north. And right now, I don't see a whole lot of strong rotation with this, so that is good news. But still, getting close to Lake Arthur, you definitely want to be in a safe place if you live in Lake Arthur. Along LA 26 here, and this is going to be making its way into, it looks like Acadia Parish fairly shortly, but still some strong winds showing up with that storm. There's the red box, the tornado polygon. It's east of Lowry now, right now, just west of Lake Arthur, and it's going to cross LA 26 here pretty soon. You have LA 380 there. It's going to cross LA 380 as well. It's kind of the intersection of LA 26 and LA 380. So possible tornado right there. This is radar indicated. We haven't had reports of a tornado on the ground, but we do have radar that shows some rotation there. And this line extends down to the south, and we still have a severe thunderstorm warning pretty much for that whole line for Cameron Parish up into western parts of Jeff Davis Parish, and that goes into Allen Parish until 5:45. So another 4 minutes for that warning. They've really trimmed it back some as this went well back west of Lake Charles, but now that the line has moved to the east, they've trimmed it a little bit, and it's a pretty skinny severe thunderstorm warning now. So we'll see if they reissue that, but it looks as though this line in front is kind of taking over, so it may weaken the one back to the west. So Crowley, this possible tornado is going to move toward you. I think right now it looks like it could pass between Crowley and Jennings along I-10. Mermentau, Esterwood, you want to be in a safe place, but right now Lake Arthur is where that possible tornado is along LA 14 here right now. The rotation's there. It's not real distinct, but you do see a little bit of rotation near the Lake Arthur area, and we're starting to see this whole line make its way off to the east. So the winds don't look too impressive, but it doesn't mean that there's not a tornado on the ground. There could definitely be a tornado on the ground. We did have reports of a tornado on the ground with that storm as it moved over Ragley and into Allen Parish. It was moving out of Beauregard Parish, and you can see the reports there with those tornado icons showing up. The good news is we don't have any reports of a tornado with this one, but if it holds this track, it's going to make its way into southern Acadia Parish, eventually up into St. Landry Parish. The good news is the instability is weaker up here, so it may weaken some, but still, it didn't stop that storm from weakening. Notice how far north that one is as it moved into Allen Parish. So this whole line's moving to the east at about 40 to 50 miles per hour, so it should be completely out of the area probably by 9 to 10 o'clock. The good news is it's going to move through fairly quickly, so the flash flooding threat will be low, but we could easily pick up 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches of rain in a short period of time, so there may be some brief flash flooding. Here's the warm front. This is what we're talking about. If you notice today, it was really cool outside. We had an east-northeasterly wind as the warm front was offshore. Now that warm front has moved inland, and we're starting to see the instability move inland south of this warm front. So we're starting to get these tornadoes that develop in what we call the warm sector, this area here south of the warm front. So it doesn't feel like severe weather outside because it's not warm, it's not humid, but we're going to get a brief shot of that warmer and more humid air as we see that warmer air come in before the cold front comes in. And that's why we had a small window of tornadoes this evening. We've been talking about that for the last couple of days. How far north does this warm front go? And that's what we're seeing right now, is that warm front lifting north with what we call the warm sector coming in, tornadoes trying to develop in that. But right now, we do have that tornado warning there for southern parts of Jeff Davis, and that is moving, it's moving toward Acadia Parish. Right now, the actual part of the storm that could be producing the tornado is not in Acadia Parish quite yet. So you see a lot of lightning strikes with this, not as much lightning with this secondary line. This is the one that was nasty earlier, but we've really seen that taper off. So this one is, like I said, taking over. We may actually see more stuff develop in front of that line off to the east, but more than likely we're going to see this whole line move through Acadiana as we go through the evening. You see anything else, Trevor? Here's future track.
I was just showing future track so we can see the evolution of these storms.
Yeah.
Here's future track. It has the line continuing to work eastward. Looks like by about, I'd say another hour or so, it will be moving through the heart of Acadiana and then moving out pretty quickly. These storms are moving 50 to 60 miles per hour, so they will cover a lot of ground pretty quickly here. And overnight tonight, things will be improving. So I just wanted to show that. This is another severe weather indice that we look at, tornado threat index. This is the measure of how much wind speed is in the atmosphere and how much rotation these storms could gain and how much and how bad the tornado threat could be. The orange area and the red area, these are higher levels. Now remember, it's that warm front is moving to the north, but you also need some instability as well, and that's why all of these parameters are very high down to the south, mainly south of I-10. This severe weather threat was always going to be what's called conditional, meaning that you needed that warm front to pass your location for those storms to really become surface based. So that's what it's looking like now. The severe weather threat is definitely going to be higher along and south of I-10, even though we have seen some warnings as far north as Beauregard and Allen right near that low pressure. Haven't really seen the winds, and I think one reason why we were looking at this on analysis earlier, the low pressure has really not gotten going. Some of the models showed that low pressure pressure being a little bit stronger for today than what it currently is now. It's still rather ill-defined, and I think that's why we're not seeing the 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts we thought we would see. Even offshore right now, we're seeing wind gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour. So that's certainly some good news. We're not seeing those winds out ahead of the main line that can cause those power outages, but we still have the main line to deal with. So with that being said, let's go back at radar here and take a look at exactly what's going on. This line is marching off to the east very quickly. We actually, the tornado watch, Heath, has been issued for all of Acadiana now. It was across western portions of the state. We were wondering when they would issue that tornado warning, or the tornado watch rather, for Acadiana. It looks like all of Acadiana is now under a tornado watch. We can see exactly how long this watch is going to go for. Looks like they're going to issue this until 1 a.m., Heath, and it includes pretty much all of Acadiana, pretty much everywhere south of Highway 190. And here's a look at radar now. Oh, Heath, here's a look at radar for you.
Yeah, one thing to point out, this is going to be well out of here by 1 a.m. I think by 9, 10 o'clock, this is going to be well east of Acadiana. I was just looking at that storm right there, and the rotation has weakened quite a bit, so that is good news. But still, you don't want to let your guard down in Acadia Parish or extreme southern parts of Jeff Davis Parish with this storm, because there is still some rotation with that as it moves just northeast of Lake Arthur now. You can see it's really weakened. You don't see as pronounced signature there of a possible tornado. Earlier it looked a little more impressive south of Lake Arthur, but Trevor is circling that, as you can see right here, and that's going to make its way up toward I-10. So it may be running into more stable air. So that is some good news, but what can happen, sometimes these tornadoes cycle as the rotation goes away and then it comes back again. So we'll see if that happens with this storm, but that's the tornado warning we're looking at. That goes until 6 o'clock. We'll see if they extend that.
They have dropped the warning further off to the north and west.
Okay, that's good. So we were really concerned about that storm because it, you know, according to the Weather Service, it had a tornado on the ground near Ragley. So luckily they see enough in which they don't want to extend that warning, as we're not seeing any rotation with that now. So really the main concern, this is the only tornado warning we have, and that is over Lake Arthur, and that's going to be moving into western parts of Acadia Parish very shortly. I think we're going to Darlin Dalford, and they have something for us. Hey guys.
Well, hello there, Heath. Of course, we have our crews out and about around Acadiana just to let us know what's happening in your areas. They're monitoring the conditions now.
Yeah, we had a chance to look at the Sky 10 cam where we could see some of the activity in Jennings, and that's where we're going to head to right now, as that's where News 10's Jasmine Dean is. Jasmine, how's it looking out there?
Here in Jeff Davis Parish, the area is under a tornado watch. We've been experiencing heavy rains and strong winds for the past hour and a half out here. As you can see behind me, a trash can that has been blown by the winds. The area has been experiencing heavy rains, which results in a little bit of flooding in the area. I know I've been getting soaked out here because the rains are so heavy, and as of now, the area is still under a tornado watch until further notice. But what we can say is that everyone can expect to see a little bit of lightning. We have been experiencing lightning strikes for at least the past 30 minutes or so. And again, as I reiterate, the winds are high. Not only is this trash can being blown around, but there are certain debris in the area that's been blown as well. We'll continue to have continued coverage and updates. In Jennings, Jasmine Dean, KLFY News 10.
Here's video now this afternoon in Pasadena, Texas. You can see that there was some heavy damage there. You have buildings that obviously have